Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
My God.
It's another sad day in America.
Painful to be introduced to George Floyd during his last breath with a cop's knee on his neck. He deserves so much more.
How many black lives have to be taken before something is done?
We are not a threat.
I am shaking as I type.
This has got to stop.
We are sick of
We need
it.
conviction.
I just want us all to live.
Death will not stop until the powers that be are finally held accountable.
Don't look away from the truth until every one of us are free from white supremacy.
The world stands with you.
Criminalizing and killing of black and brown bodies is not new. It's as old as America. It's just getting filmed more.
Do you know what it feels like to be hunted? To have a new hashtag for a dead black person every single day? How does one plan a life if they aren't sure they will have a life to plan?
Teresa Armstrong, Deborah Daniels,
Megan
Michelle Lee
George Floyd. His name was George Floyd. Say his name. Say his name.
George Floyd. Say his name.
Say their names.
Once again, and always, we fight for justice.
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
Rest in power, beautiful. You didn't deserve this.
Oh, that spin class was brutal. Well, you can try using the Buick's massaging seat.
Ooh, yeah, that's nice. Can I use Apple CarPlay to put some music on?
Sure, it's wireless.
Pick something we all like. Okay, hold on. What's your Buick's Wi-Fi password?
Buick Envision 2021.
Oh, you should pick something stronger. That's really predictable.
That's a really tight spot.
Don't worry, I used to hate parallel parking.
Me too.
Hey.
Really outdid yourself.
Yes, we did.
The all-new Buick Envision, an SUV built around you, all of you.
Support the Black College Sports Network so we can continue to provide you coverage. Go to myjbn.com/support and be a part of the Black College Sports
Tell everybody
Network.
they can follow their dreams.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won. Yeah. I hope my team they won. Yeah. Man, I hope my team they won. I hope my team they won. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavill, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavill with Inside HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop. As you see, Mike Washington is out on assignment. I don't know if it's the valid thing, or if he's actually on assignment because it didn't go well for the senior day at home for the Prairie A&M University Panthers. But we do have an interview that we'll get into us, and they already had their seat in the championship game. So in a lot of ways, that game was outside of it, and you could tell in terms of who they played and didn't play in that game. But it'll be interesting because now it's for real. You get one shot at it, and somebody is going to hold up a championship trophy for the conference, and then they're going to get their invitation in hand, I'm sure, to the Celebration Bowl in Atlanta and ultimately play South Carolina State, the Bulldogs, who got it done now a couple of weeks ago in terms of winning the MEAC championship. With that being said, this is Dr. Cavill with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. So I want to say welcome, episode 111. I was 2000. I was about to really add it up there. I think I was talking about the year 2021, but no, not to be. I want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. Obviously, I gave the professors a day off. They wanted a little time to get ready for this last stretch so they can get in their grades appropriately. I'm not sure if they were actually getting in their grades or they were cheating a little bit with their own time, but I can understand because that turkey is good and it can weigh you down. So you see visiting Professor Drew in here, he's ready. He looked like he did the turkey well. Certainly looked like Professor Bishop went all in. I had a chance to come and check with him Friday night to get in. So we did our brotherly smoke. And so we'll talk about that. As we say, kudos for Bowie State Bulldogs as they go into the quarterfinals, the third round. Shout out to them. Kudos. Kudos to Dr. Travion Scott as he got his first Bayou Classic victory as a VP of athletics, i.e. athletic director. Kudos for Mississippi Valley as they defeat the Western Division representative and close the season out in strong fashion after giving head coach Dancy a contract extension. So things are getting interesting. Shout out also, as you've heard by now, to Alabama State in regards them getting it done. Shout out to Jason Cable as the VP of athletics there, naming their new head coach, Eddie Robinson Jr. For those that may not be aware, he is not related to the legendary Eddie Robinson. Eddie Robinson was a man of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. Eddie Robinson Jr. happens to be a man of Omega Psi Phi. Not to say that wouldn't matter, but I thought it'd be interesting to point that out. Good guy out of Houston. We'll find a way to make sure we can get to him. He won the press conference without a doubt. With that being said, I do want to say welcome to the show and the podcast. We have a lot going on, showing that's covering and sporting HBCU dash for all things HBCU sports for institutions, large and small, from the NAIA to the NCAA. We share insights and information on the HBCU sports culture and sports athletic aesthetics, as you know, to facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs and the business of HBCU sports. Because last Thursday, y'all had me going in on the business. Tuesday, I should say, on the business side of this in regards to the playoffs or the championship game. So we'll keep talking about the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavill, along with my co-host. Today will be none other than Charles Bishop and A.D. Drew. That's Professor Bishop and Professor Drew. We're filming from our home studios right here in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas, with a shout out. You know, I'm always going to represent.
Dope. I like that.
So Charles wearing his just, I said, I got one of those. Today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency. THG Agency is the company that provides sporting and educational consulting data analytics. I did want to shout out Vernita Harris of Pinch-Done. You remember she came in with her colleague to talk about her new book and tailgating components of it. I wanted to shout them out because they did the Prairie View alumni chapter of the Bahamas. So I wanted to shout out all those Bahamians out there, all the folks representing different HBCUs, particularly Prairie View, as they did a Payne College, Bethune-Cookman, Tuskegee, Fort Valley for participation in the fraternities and sororities, particularly AKA Alpha Kappa Alpha, for their representation in what was a day of learning about schools and traditions of HBCUs. So thought that was very fascinating. 2-round trip international tickets were given to be able to come. And then they had a watch party for the game yesterday, for a couple of the games that they were watching yesterday. So I like that when we talk about the international perspective, business perspective of HBCUs and how they really exist. Before we get too far, I also wanted to talk about this. A little bit of round ball in action. I know y'all into football, but a little bit of basketball. And today happens to be unique because usually we don't get these opportunities. First, a couple of big wins by North Carolina A&T in terms of Division I win yesterday. They got it done. Jackson State had a big Division I road win. So you're getting some programs that are getting these wins. Prairie View just nipped with their Loyola Marymount, where they lost by a couple of points, and we've seen a couple of those. But today we have some HBCU multi-conference action. First, you have major matchup, I guess you would call it. Some people say low major, which is the Citadel at South Carolina State. You would think that's an opportunity for a chance for the Bulldogs and the MEAC to get a win. MEAC is doing pretty well with Norfolk State getting it done with 3+ Division I wins, sitting at 6-1. Before we get to them, that's a 1:00 game in the CIT. Then you have the Battle of the Bay on the basketball court, which is Hampton and Norfolk. It's a 7:00 tip-off. These are always good. It's the HBCU Challenge hosted by Chris Paul. So I'm interested in it. This is on ESPN2. Then you have the Grambling at Morgan State. Morgan State is 2-4. Grambling is 1-4. Both of them have Division I wins in terms of what's going on there. That's the ESPN 9:30 game. And then you have Southern at Tennessee State, which is a 2:00 game sandwiched in between those matchups. So I'm intrigued to see how these go right now. SWAC has won both of their HBCU matchups. You had one early where Alabama A&M defeated Tennessee State. And then you had Alabama State defeating North Carolina Central. Both of those games were on their home court. So it'll be fascinating to see now that they have these Southern going to Tennessee State. Can they get it done? And then you have these neutral court matchups. So I'm fascinated about that. With that being said, let me go to you, Professor Bishop. What's on your mind?
Hey, you know, there's a lot of great action yesterday. I binged on as much football as I could yesterday. And Dr. Gill, we talked a little bit about basketball as well with Jackson State, Louisiana Lafayette. But that Bayou Classic, I mean, it was a classic one. Grambling, a tremendous win yesterday over Southern. And when you take a look at everything that Grambling has kind of gone through this past season not being up to Grambling standards, Coach Fobbs being released, for them to get this a huge Bayou Classic victory, that was big yesterday. That was big for Grambling's program moving forward. So we'll see where they go now with regards to their coaching search. But 55,000 in the Dome yesterday, coming back to New Orleans, that was huge yesterday to get a chance opportunity to sit back and watch that.
Yeah, I got to agree with you. It was an exciting game. I got to see basically the second half of it, peeking in and out throughout the game for the first half. And it's a classic Bayou Classic in terms of its entertainment value. Back and forth, big plays here, key stops, big turnovers here and there that are distant. But we talk about the special teams all the time in football, and Grambling's kicker put the special in the special teams as he had five field goals, including essentially the game winner with about 7 seconds left on the clock. He left 2 on the clock. Wasn't really anything that Southern could do effectively. And so it won the game. And remember, it was just a couple of years ago when Southern won the game on the fact that they were able to block a field goal attempt. So, man, history finds a way to turn itself around and evens itself out as we talk about HBCU classics. AD Drew, what's on your mind?
My brothers, the hate is real. Thursday, my beloved Tuskegee University lost a Turkey Day Classic to Alabama State, and I had to deal with that because not only did Tuskegee lose, but they were blown out 43-9. And when you just as soon as you recover from that, then my beloved Florida A&M University goes and lays an egg in the FCS playoffs. So for me, the hate is real. You know, all the trash talking and smack talking that I've been hearing over the past 4 days about both my universities, brothers, the hate is real. Also, one last thing, Cyber Monday is tomorrow. No, I'm not talking about the sales and everything that you're going to be able to get online, but I'm talking about watch for the post on your school's athletic website as jobs start to change, jobs start to open, and one hiring or one firing causes openings in other places at other institutions. So Cyber Monday is tomorrow.
That was appropriately said on all fronts. Great information, great framework. Yes, it was a tough one for the Rattlers in terms of the playoffs. But I think it was a great learning experience. And I do want to say this, a lot of people don't realize it's not just playing for the playoffs that are important or getting into a championship game for the sake of having the championship game or a bowl game for that matter. When you're coaching, you're always not only planning for the moment, but it's also looking forward. Those extra practice times that you get with some of your young players that are going to be taking over the following year are extremely important. And you can ask the coach at any level, particularly those at the FBS level that play in bowl games, one of the biggest values that they want to see it. One is to celebrate the young men for usually what is a great season, the hurdles that they overcome and the rewards that come with it, as well as the fact the coaches are greedy. They get a couple of more practice times with those young pups, as we'll call it in this case, those college athletes that are seeking to get more experience to get better. So I thought it was fascinating. All in all, great weekend, no matter how you look at it. Anytime we get to celebrate HBCU athletic programs, doing your thing is big. With that being said, let me give you a breakdown of those games and scores that you probably have heard of, but just in case. You had number 1 Jackson State Tigers. They were open, but they will play next week, Saturday, December 4th in Jackson, Mississippi. And number 2, Florida A&M Rattlers lose to Southeastern Louisiana Lions, 24 to 14 was that score?
38-14.
38-14, excuse me. In that update, Alabama A&M at number 3 was season complete. Number 4, Prairie View Panthers lose to Mississippi Valley Delta State Devils 24-19. They are in the SWAC championship game Saturday, the Denver 4th. You have South Carolina State Bulldogs. They're open as they wait, heal, and get ready for the Celebration Bowl. At number 6, North Carolina Central, as you know, season complete. Number 7, Alcorn State Braves, season complete. They'll be thinking about that Bethune-Cookman loss next couple of weeks, thinking that we could have got in. North Carolina Central Eagles, season complete. At number 9, Hampton Pirates, season is complete. At number 10, North Carolina A&T State Aggies, season is complete. And I've seen a couple of them hollering that the football season went in the flag. Samaj over there, big time Aggies fan that does this show. Shout out to him. I saw him on Twitter, and he's absolutely correct. This thing went a flash in a minute. Number 1, Bowie State Bulldogs defeat Newberry Wolves in the second round of the playoffs, 13-10. They get it done. They see Valdosta State. We'll get in a little bit about that matchup. And number 2, Albany State Golden Rams, season complete. Number 3, Savannah State Tigers, season complete. As you move through here, number 5, Langston Lions, season complete. Number 7, Virginia Union Panthers, season complete. Kentucky State, Thoroughbred, season complete. Number 9, Shaw Bears, season complete. And number 10, Lane Dragon, season complete. We talk about all that to say most of those programs you would think you don't have to worry about Cyber Monday, but we can see because some of those assistant coaches could be looking for opportunities as some of the other places come open, whether it is as the head coach or offensive coordinator to try to see if they can take their next step. So it'll be fascinating to see how that goes. With that, this is Dr. Ville inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We'll be right back after this break.
I want you to get the vaccine because I want you to be safe.
I don't want you to be a patient I take care of in the hospital. That's what I'm scared of. I hug you.
Yeah. Love you. Love you too.
Supermarket sushi, really?
No. Wait, Troy, you work here?
I'm never not working. Like Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology, up to 100% dandruff protection, even between washes.
Never not working, huh?
Oh, Troy, you're such a good teacher.
Yeah, I know. Never not working. Never not working. Never, ever not working.
Are you serious?
Never not working. Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders Scalp Shield technology.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
It's the show where we take you inside the game before the game begins. It's the pregame. With your host, Charles Bishop and Neely. So get ready, because we pregame harder than the other show's party. It's the pregame.
AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Lab. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Lab, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
True Black Essentials is a retail opportunity to bring Black businesses under one roof, where every product on every shelf in every aisle will be Black owned and Black produced by people all over the world. Statistics show that the $1.3 trillion of spending power that we have as Black people can easily be turned into each Black person having $2 billion if we were to shop Black for 2 years. So True Black Essentials will launch an e-commerce store on November 1st, 2020. But we will open up brick and mortar stores in Atlanta, New Orleans, Charlotte, Houston, and Jacksonville, with the very first store opening in Atlanta, June 19, 2021.
Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna loud, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Ville with Inside HBCU Sports Lab. We bringing you another great interview, man. We got a legend on there. Y'all don't know about this one though. Some of y'all not into HBCU sports like you're supposed to. Some of y'all are not doing y'all homework. This is Dr. Ville with Inside HBCU Sports Lab. We are with Professor Drew, Professor Bishop, but joining us is none other than the defensive coordinator of the 12-1 Bulldogs of Bowie State, going into the third round quarterfinals of the playoffs as they just win. He has a previous stint, as I've known him before, when he brought me a championship down there at Prairie View on the hill, as we say in it. That's a dig at Professor Drew, as they think they have a hill. Some of those Bulldogs out there and my wife have a hill, but we got a hill. Coach, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Blessed to be here with you guys this morning. Thank you for having me.
Man, you're an upcoming coach, so I thought it was brilliant. We have an opportunity to make sure we showcase those coaches that are up and coming, that rightfully, in due time, they should be leading their own program. And I'm not speaking that for your side. You don't have to comment on that, but I would not do you justice or those other assistant coaches out there that have been digging in the toil, getting it done for a number of years, learning their crafts. And we see by what this Bulldog team represents over the last couple of years. Let's not get it twisted. This program has been in getting it done under the head coach's leadership. We've had him on previous, as you know, as you set that up. And then obviously what you do on the defensive side of the ball is second to none in the nation. Before we get too far into that, tell those that may not understand a little bit about your background, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm a HBCU product as well. Got my undergraduate degree from Bowie State University, class of 2003. Played a little ball there during that time. Was fortunate enough to make all CIAA during my senior season in 2002, which was kind of the year a lot of people, kind of attribute the beginning of our success to the Amir Hall era, but that was actually the first year where we made it to the CIAA championship in 2002 and lost to Fayetteville State, which is why, honestly, I don't have much sympathy for us winning the CIAA championship against Fayetteville State, because my last ever college game was in the cold, rainy Bowman Gray Stadium. And we lost a tough contest to Fayetteville State for the CIAA championship. But I think that showed us as a program that we could really, be one of the better teams in the CIAA. From there, when I graduated, I went down and did a year as a GA at Fort Valley State. Came back home to Bowie for a year, and was working some odd jobs here and there, driving trucks and working for an electrical company and working for moving companies, and kind of doing what a lot of our young men do when they graduate. Just trying to find my way. And I knew that football was my passion, but I also knew I had to put some money in my pocket. And I was blessed enough to have the opportunity to volunteer on the staff at Bowie in 2004 with Coach Mike Lynn as our head coach. And then one day I was up, like I said, running around driving my truck, delivering some electrical supplies, and I got a phone call from my former head coach, Henry Frazier, who had just taken the Prairie View job the previous year, saying, hey, I got a job for you. I want you to come down here and coach my DBs. Didn't have to interview anything. So, I never forget July the 3rd, 2005. I packed up all my everything that could fit in my Cadillac. I packed it in there and drove from Maryland, spent the night in Louisiana, and I thought I was making good progress until I got to the Texas state line and saw it said El Paso, Texas, like 900 and something miles, and I'm like, no way I can be in Texas and you're telling me another city in Texas is 900 miles away. So I got a very quick introduction to them, when they say everything's bigger in Texas. Came to Prairie View, and I think that's when my career really took off. Under the leadership of obviously Coach Frazier and Coach Northern, our defensive coordinator. He really did a great job of not putting too much on me early on, but allowing me to grow under his leadership and learn, and then eventually putting me in a position to lead my own position room. And at times even get up in front of the entire defense, just to kind of see what it felt like to be a coordinator, and and to lead an entire group of guys versus just that one position. And then, like you said, every year at Prairie View we got better and better at my position as well as a team until we eventually won a championship. And again, another one of those early morning calls. I was with Coach Northern, going fishing when it was the year the SWAC championship was in Shreveport. And we were up there, and we were up about 5 or 6 in the morning, getting ready to go to his boat and go fishing. And Coach Wilson gave me a call and said that his defensive coordinator had just left to take another job, and would I like to come home? And and before he can even probably really offer me the job, I said, of course, I would love to come home and help to just with not necessarily restore, but to help take Bowie to a new level from what we had already started. And it's something that's been 10, 11 years in the making. But here we are now in the third round of the playoffs, and I'm just so blessed and proud as a Bowie State alum, and like I said, someone who's been involved in HBCU football for pretty much my entire adult life, that that these guys are doing what they're doing on the field. Because as much credit as people want to give us, man, you know, it's really a testament to the hard work and dedication that our young men put in on a daily basis.
Great point. Professor Bishop, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about your defense because you guys lead the nation in defensive scoring, and you've done it in a variety of ways, be it interceptions or fumble recoveries. But just talk a little bit about some of the personnel on your defense, especially a young man like Josh Pryor, who sets the tone, if you will, on the defensive side of the ball.
Like you said, I mean, our defensive personnel is outstanding. It was we were a little disappointed that more of our guys weren't recognized for some postseason awards within our conference, but it's really a testament to those guys as individuals because they all sacrifice, they all sacrifice individual success for us to achieve our team goals. As far as the individuals, like I say, you have Josh Pryor, Jonathan Ross, who has emerged. Both of those guys, ironically, were guys that we redshirted their freshman year, and it's not easy to convince a guy coming to a Division II school to redshirt because in their eyes, they're a division. It's not like you had a big Division I where hey, if you walk into Nick Saban's office and Nick Saban say, hey, we're gonna redshirt you this year, you're like, okay, coach, but for us to be able to convince those guys to agree to redshirt, but then put the work in. Both of those guys redshirted 1 year and came out their redshirt freshman year and were defensive rookie of the year in our conference.
Wow.
So and prior to that, Dimitri Morcell was a guy who was freshman, he didn't redshirt his rookie year, but he didn't play very much and just kind of developed in the system and came out as a sophomore, ended up being defensive player of the year. So obviously we have those two guys. We have a young man in Kendall Robinson who doesn't get much publicity up front, because he plays around a bunch of other guys. But he's a guy who had a forced fumble, an interception, and a touchdown in the game we played New Haven. Who just got eliminated in the second round of the playoffs as well. And then you have a young man, Ellison Jordan, who is a guy who had a few major knee surgeries at Penn State, and most people thought his career was over. And he just had 9 solo tackles for us yesterday as our nose guard. You've got at the linebacker position, you got Jordan Carter, who has 2 touchdowns on the season. Wesley Bowers, who's our emotional and physical leader, who's a guy who transferred to us from Georgetown after earning his degree at Georgetown in 3.5 years. You got Simeon Gatlin, who's another grad transfer from Morgan State, who is a guy that's probably 185 pounds that plays outside linebacker for us. That's just, if you look on film, you see 20 all over the field just making plays. He doesn't always make the splash plays, but he's the guy, sets the edge for us, takes away the team's best slot receiver. Just sort of a jack of all trades. Aaron Webb is our linebacker, who he does a great job of just being physical on the run on first and second downs. And then when you talk about our secondary to me is probably the most underrated, or probably the most physically gifted group that we have on our defense. Miles Wolford, again, Dimitri Morcell, Tevin Singleton, who doesn't get anywhere near the credit he deserves, a 4-year starter for us, who, most people give Dimitri Morcell all the credit because he gets the interceptions, make the big plays. But in fact, Tevin is the guy that when we're playing a team, we put him on our #1 receiver. And just yesterday, the kid Woodruff from Newberry, he had 100 and something yards and a touchdown against West Florida, who was the defending national champion. And he had, I think, 2 catches against us yesterday. And then obviously Raymond Boone.
Shut him down.
And Raymond Boone, who to me is like, I call him Wolverine. He's one of those guys where, you try not to rein him in. You try not to rein him in too much, but, he's a wild card, but he's a guy who's going to fly around, super athletic. You're not going to win many jump balls against him. They're not going to be too many guys on our level who can run past him because of how, physically gifted he is. So it's so many guys, and those are just our starters. But we play probably 18 to 20 guys defensively every game, and that allows those guys to remain fresh and know that they can give their all every single play.
Awesome. Yeah.
Great point. And if anybody knows about secondary defensive backs, particularly, it's Coach Sewell. With that being said, we're going to take a quick break, come back and let Professor Drew ask the question, and then we'll make sure the coach can get back to his time as he talking about burning up his computer with all those films that he's watching, getting his team ready. We don't want to steal too much of your time, but we certainly appreciate that. We'll be right back after this break. The Lab listeners, hoping you enjoying this. Stick with us. We got more to come.
Thank you guys for what you do for HBCU athletics. This is a fantastic avenue for all of us. This is our ESPN, so we love what you guys do. Brian, AD, Roy, all you guys at BCSN. We really appreciate what it is that you guys do for us.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Charmin Ultra Soft has so much cushiony softness, it's hard for your family to remember. They can use less.
Sweet pillows of softness.
This is soft. Holy Charmin. Oh, excuse me. Roll it back, everybody. Sorry.
Charmin Ultra Soft is so cushiony soft, you'll want more, but it's so absorbent, you can use less, so it's always worth it.
Now, what did we learn about using less?
You gotta roll it back, everybody. We all go. Why not enjoy the go with Charmin?
I miss you so much. I love you,
Your ad could be ran here. MyJBN.com/support. MyJBN.com/support for more information.
I'm quiet as a mouse, but if they want, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Ville, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with.
This is Dr. Ville's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Boys, some of the back room talking. You could hear it. We would all be in trouble. SlowBurnsWaco.com. SlowBurnsWaco.com. I think the coaches at Bowie State deserve their smoke. So we might be sending them something as the season progresses before it's over. We'll send that down to their coach. We'll make sure that you get that in rightfully due time. With that, let me go back and let Professor Drew jump in here and ask this follow-up question.
Well, I was telling you during the break, Charles asked my first question. The coach answered my second question while he was answering Charles's first question. So now I'm just going to go straight to the punch, Coach. You got Valdosta State this upcoming weekend. Now, you had Valdosta State in 2018, and you played them in the second round and lost to them on their way to their national championship. How many players are left over from that 2018 squad? B, consider this is your third playoff appearance in a row. How has the team grown? And then C, what will it take for you guys to beat Valdosta State?
Okay, so first question. I know defensively, we only have two starters remaining from that team. And one kid who sat out 2019, but was on the 2018 team who returned for this year. And then offensively, I believe we have two offensive linemen and one receiver who were on that team, like actually played on that team. Like Then we got a bunch of guys who were freshmen who redshirted that year, who didn't get to travel with us, and those kind of things. So it'll be good for those guys to, get on the airplane. The NCAA does a good job when you have to fly to these road games. I'm sure our guys are gonna have their sunglasses on because we'll be pulling up on the tarmac and walking straight on the plane. So it's a great experience for those guys. But we do understand that we're going down there for a business trip. That was the first question. I think I know the first and the third one. I think I might have forgot the second one. I know you asked me about the how many guys on the team.
Consider this is your third appearance in a row in the playoffs. How has your team grown from 2018, 2019, obviously 2020 was COVID, and now you've actually won 2 games this year. So this is the furthest that Bowie has made it in those 3 years. So how has the team grown as far as the playoff experience for you guys?
All right, so I'm gonna go back a little further for you. 2015 was actually our first playoff appearance with this coaching staff and in this era. And I got a funny story about that because we had lost to Winston-Salem in the CIAA championship the game before, the day before the selection show. And I didn't go in the office that next Sunday. I'm at home, watching Sunday night football and eating some wings. And I get a text from one of my players like, Coach, we locked in, we ready to go. And I'm like, man, off-season workouts don't start till January. What are you talking about? He like, yeah, Coach, we got in the playoffs. I said, we got in the what? Like, I wasn't even, because at the time we were, we thinking CIAA, and so we went to Assumption and we played like a team who was just happy to be there. And in 2018, we played Valdosta. We played like a team that was just happy to be there. Like I said, we were happy to be flying on a private plane and, going to this stadium where you see all the banners from the national championships and from the high school championships and so on and so forth. And we were literally I think we were in awe of being in the second round of the playoffs. And we told our guys yesterday, we said, we're not just happy to be here anymore. We have that, all of our transfers and incoming guys, they all said one thing to me. And that was, Coach, you guys won the CIAA championship without us. Like, we came here for one thing, and that's to compete and win a national championship. And I'm not here to make any guarantees or anything like that. But what I can tell you is that these guys are not satisfied with what they've done so far, and their mindset is they want to show that they can truly compete with anybody. Now, how do we beat Valdosta State? It's going to take a lot. To be honest with you, like I say, I'm watching these guys on film. They don't have a weakness offensively. They have a dynamic quarterback. They have 2 running backs who were freshmen on the team that won the national championship in 2018. They have a couple receivers who were freshmen on that 2018 team. So they are good. They're talented. They're experienced. They have a good scheme. And obviously they're battle tested. And traditionally they're a program that has always competed for a national championship. But for us, we just have to do what we've been doing. We got to play fast. We got to be physical. We have to limit our mistakes. We have to hopefully limit the big plays defensively, and offensively. Hopefully, we can enforce our will on those guys a little bit, and make them have to get out of their game plan. If we can try to get ahead a little bit and hopefully make them one-dimensional, that's been a formula for success for us a lot. But I think we showed yesterday that even when we play in the close game and we were behind in the third quarter, late in the third quarter, these guys they don't have any quitting. They don't have any quitting. We have a lot of guys on our team who've been through a lot in their lifetime, especially over this pandemic. And the things that happen on the football field, honestly, it doesn't shake them very much because it pales in comparison to what a lot of them are going through in their real life. So obviously, Coach Wilson he's going to make sure everybody understands that this is a different team, just as we did coming into the season. Everybody was talking Bowie State three-peat, and we probably had 50, 60 new guys on our roster. So for these guys, this is their first championship, and this is their first opportunity to get to go to Valdosta State and play against them. And man, we're honored to be in the third round of the playoffs, playing for a regional championship against a program who I'm sure everyone expected to be there. And it's really playing with house money at this point. You know, nobody outside of the HBCU circle expected Bowie State to be in the third round of the playoffs. So if we go down there and we don't win the game, nobody's going to be disappointed. Nobody's going to look down at us. So we don't have anything to lose. And hopefully our guys understand that and they come out and just play and have fun. You know, it's a blessing to be playing football in December.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Coach, for your time. I want you to know, shout out to your alumni. Give them a shout out and your coaches and your players.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
With that being said, we want to say that inside the HBCU Sports Lab, HBCU fans out there, not only Bowie State Bulldogs, but a lot of us HBCU fans are behind you 100%. And we say go Bulldogs.
I would just like to say one thing. I would love, really, like I said, I coached at Fort Valley State, and I understand how they are, excuse me, in the South, especially when it comes to HBCUs. We would really, really love. I know you got a lot of HBCUs that are within a couple of hours of Valdosta State, FAMU, Albany State, Fort Valley, Morehouse. You know, if we can have as many of those fans come out and support us, I know we probably won't get a huge following from Maryland, you know, with it being so far away. But, you know, we would really, really love if all of those fans could come out and support us, because we understand that we're carrying the flag for Division II HBCUs at this point, and you know, we would really, really appreciate the support.
That's all.
Well, Coach, I will tell you this: I stay 45 minutes from Valdosta, Georgia, and with you guys coming down this direction, I'm trying to get our CEO to switch my assignment so that I can cover you guys actually live in house. So
we would appreciate it, and definitely, you know, hopefully, you know, we'll get to meet in person. And all I can say is whatever you see from me is passion. Don't. I know a lot of times HBCU game day cameras always seem to find me immediately after the game. When I go back, I always go like man, they caught me in the moment. You know, I don't say anything wrong per se, but my energy is going to be very, very high. So, you know, hopefully you guys will, you know, we'll get an opportunity to see what Bowie State football is all about live and in person.
No doubt about it. This is Dr. Ville inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I hope you enjoyed that interview with none other than defensive coordinator Anton Sewell of Bowie State Bulldogs. We'll be right back after this last break. Into the fourth quarter, as they say. Put up the fourth quarter.
This is the BCSN Pod Zone, your place for the news, views, and conversations about all things related to HBCU athletics. Hear the BCSN Sports Wrap, Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, Knights of the Round Table, the pregame show, the Carlos Brown Show, the ONG Strike Zone, and more in one place. We are changing the way you consume HBCU sports, one broadcast at a time.
Can I get the now bar, please? $1. Have a good one. Got it.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey.
Let me get a now bar.
Sure. $1.
Appreciate you.
Got it.
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
You see, Head & Shoulders has scalp shield technology, protects against flakes even between washes. It's never not working.
Kind of like us. We're never not working. Number 15?
That's my rub.
Ooh, nice.
Never not working.
Never, ever, never, ever not working.
Welcome, everybody, to Juneau, Alaska.
I don't like this one.
Me neither.
Let's get out of here.
Dandruff protection that's never not working. Head & Shoulders scalp shield technology.
Follow the Black College Sports Network On social media at MyBCSN1, the number 1. On Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at MyBCSN1.
I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Ville, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about.
I do commend the Mississippi Valley team, Coach Dancer. They came, they was ready to play, and that's on me. We got to be prepared to play regardless of what the circumstances are. I know a lot of questions was asked about do you rest your players. I play to win. That's just my philosophy. I play to win. I'm never going to go out there and change myself for anything. Now, I'm also going to play smart as well. But I thought they played a good game. I did see some positive. That's the only thing I look for in a game. Although the outcome can be bad, I look for the positive part of it. I think the positive part is that my guys are going to fight. I've been knowing that all year long, though. But we got to correct some things because we're going to face a very good Jackson football team.
How do you go about the process of transitioning from this game to preparing for the SWAC championship?
Well, you got to myself. I guarded myself to make sure that the only thing that was important to me was Mississippi Valley. So now, in my something that I do, I normally get to Sunday and look over all the corrections and let it go after that, and Monday move forward to Jackson. But I'll just be honest with you, it's fall and marbles. I'm gonna drop this off tonight and be prepared tonight for Jackson. That's just the way I'm gonna operate.
Coach, how much more difficult does it make going into a game like this? I mean, on a 3-game losing streak. I mean, obviously that's not the ideal situation to be in.
In my opinion, a lot of things are not ideal, but sometimes you got sudden change, some things happen, and you got to be able to roll with the punches. I don't think you can ask for a better situation to rebound from after losing 3 games, to go and fight for it all. At the end of the day, you're the SWAC champs. That's all that matters.
Concern going forward, Tony Mullins had it looked to be a significant injury. Any comment in regards to Tony Mullins and the initial look of it?
Yeah, I'm not, and
Sure.
I'm not a guy that talks about injuries, but I did go down there. He's in good spirits. Seems to be, a issue, but we will never know until we go to the doctor and get an MRI, and they got to give us better diagnosis as to what's taking place right now. But he'll fight him. The one thing I know about him, he's going to have both legs cut off for him not to play.
Sure. Thank you.
This is Dr. Ville inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Professor Bishop and Professor Drew, as that was courtesy of Professor Bishop as he does his double time duty. He's all over the place. Appreciate you, Charles. Good work, man. Great.
For sure.
The emotions of a tough loss, senior day, but then having to turn the clock and understand that you have a shot at a SWAC championship game. And I think when you pull all this out, that's ultimately safe. Yeah, it's 3 straight losses. You like to be playing in a certain way, but if you put the cards on the table and say, hey, you're going to be 6-2 coming out of the Western Division, and you're going to win the Western Division with that record and play for a SWAC championship, I think most people said they would have taken it. With that, what are your thoughts kind of coming out of that game? And then we'll level set it and switch to Drew as we start to transition, with all the talk obviously going to be about the SWAC championship game in Jackson, Mississippi, which will feature Prairie A&M coming out of the Western Division and Jackson State coming out of the Eastern Division.
Well, I think obviously it was a disappointing loss yesterday, but I think to Coach Dooley's point, you do have to flush it. You do have to sort of put it in the rearview mirror. I think it was like you said, Dr. Bill, you still have to keep things in perspective. You still have won the SWAC West. You still will be playing for something huge this upcoming week, playing for the SWAC championship. So while that was a disappointing loss, you do have to, in some manner, transition from it very quickly and figure out some of the things that you're doing wrong on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. True enough, I think on the defensive side of the ball, we did see a lot of second-team guys in the game, especially second half of the game. I kind of looked down at the roster and was looking at the numbers and saw quite a few second teamers. So you have to kind of keep things in perspective. I think what was significant going into the finality of that game was that injury to Mullins, a young man who is a dynamic performer for Prairie View on the offensive side of the ball, one of those X factor type guys. So we'll see what his health looks like going forward. But I think, the thing that's scary, and I tried to tell a lot of Jackson State fans last night not to crow too loud, is when you have a wounded team or a team that has their backs up against the proverbial wall, that's when they're at their most dangerous. So you kind of have to keep things in perspective.
Great points. Let me go to you, Drew. What are your thoughts in terms of the matchup? Just getting into the matchup, Jackson State, Prairie View. And let me first give you kudos, particularly with Prairie View. You said at the beginning of this, when everybody was looking at these other teams, Pine Bluff, people were looking at Southern. Some people even threw Grambling in there, right? Obviously, a lot of folks had Alcorn State, rightfully so. You said, no, wait up. There's a team down deep west in Texas over there named Prairie View on the hill. They're going to be there, and you were right. But now it's all said and done. What are your thoughts, I should say, about this Prairie View Jackson State SWAC championship game matchup?
Not only did I say Prairie View was going to be there, but I told you Valley was going to be a team to contend with. And somebody who's not co-hosted this show today laughed at me. So, but we're not going to get to that discussion. We're going to say that one for Tuesday when he's here, because I'm not going to talk about him behind his back. I'm going to talk about him to his face on Tuesday. But anyway, getting back to it. 8-0. 6-2, 7-1, come Saturday. Who cares? This is any given Saturday. One shot, anyone can win this game. And as we've seen this year, all it takes is one play, one miscue, one penalty, one injury to turn the tide of a game one way or another. Yeah, Jackson State's the favorite going into this game. That's obvious. But to come into this game and think Jackson State's going to win this game going away, I love, if that's what you believe, then you not too smart, because Prairie View is a doggone good team. And all it takes is Jackson State making a mistake, Prairie View taking advantage of it, and Prairie View wins this game. But it's the same thing. Jackson State's going to have to play I won't say a perfect ball game, but Jackson State's going to have to play a good game in order to win this game on Saturday. I'm looking forward to a good heavyweight matchup. Styles make fights. These two teams, style-wise, are probably the best two teams to go at each other in that championship game. You've got two rabid fan bases who love their team. There will be a lot of smack talking between now and Saturday. We're going to have our own smack talking at the Black College Sports Network between 1876 and the pregame show. Just so happened, members of both of those shows appear on Inside HBCU Sports Lab every week. So Dr. Gaville, go ahead and get your stripes out, because you're going to have to play referee all week.
I know.
Playing referee this week.
I always had to do it right there, because I'm watching Professor Bishop's face, and he's like, huh, what? He just ready to chop it down. I say, calm down. You go get your time. We understand that Jackson is the great slice of bread. You tried to sell it, but then your face turned when somebody else say something else. I love it.
So I mean, but it's gonna be fun. And
before we get in here and start to close it up, I did want to talk about some of the particulars. Things in the games, and we'll take a deeper dive on this on Tuesday, as you said, Drew. You're right on the money with that. But in things that are we'll talk a little bit more about things that are accentuated by both teams, but some of the things that you have to look out for Jackson State in terms of will they be able to run the ball? We know Shedeur has been able to show that deep in the game that he can make plays. He can extend plays, even if his line is not playing at what they would want to see him play. He finds a way to get it done, right? But can they run the ball against Prairie View? We've seen in games where Prairie View has been stout against the run, but other times we've seen them that they have some weaknesses against the run. I think that's going to be interesting. And then when you talk about the defensive side of the ball for Jackson State, can Prairie View offensive line, which to me was out physical against Valley yesterday, was that endemic of some of the players sitting out? We know Valley is stout up front in the 7, but they have nothing on Jackson State front 7. If there's any weakness, and this is not to say that they're bad, but if there's any weakness to me, Jackson State is on the back end. But hell, if you get the pressure on the front end, your back end don't have to be great lights out, because they are solid and they are good, and they certainly know how to make plays. We've seen that later in the season where to me they even got better. So those are the things that I'm interested in when we start breaking down the matchup in terms of specific sides of the ball, specific head-to-head matchups. Prairie View's wide receivers against the defensive backs of Jackson State. Vice versa. Jackson State has some big playmakers that are fast. Special teams. Jackson State has been able to show that they've been able to make big plays on special teams when they may be kind of stuck in the mud on one side of the ball or the other. They're special teams. And we've not seen Prairie View being able to give up some big special team play all year long. Can they get that corrected? Those are the things that I'm extremely interested in as a matchup that are going to be those things that give and go that could be, as you said, Professor Drew, the difference in a ball game because of big play here and there. Obviously, if a team gets up, are they going to be able to have the ability to fight back? Both of these teams have started slow all season long. Both teams, ironically. But they're second half teams, fourth quarter teams that seem to find a way, even if they're behind, that you can't just mail it in because they're going to fight back. And so those are some things that are just fascinating to me in terms of this matchup. When you really take a deeper dive and stop glossing over records, how teams are playing at the end and whatever. And I think you're going to get a great representative for ultimately the Celebration Bowl, one way or the other from the SWAC, which could mean that now you're going to stop that MEAC win streak they have over the SWAC in the Celebration Bowl. But we'll have more time to talk about that. I did want to kind of put that on the table before we close out the show. Appreciate the lab listeners getting in here, getting it done. I see them watching. They are all sided, lathered up. Alan Malone, Corinthian Morgan, Carl Edmond. Brother Gerald Wayne Joseph is in the house. Appreciate you, Brother Joseph. Thaddeus Reed. He's picking JSU 48, PV 17. He thinks they're going to dump truck Prairie View. I think that's going to be interesting. George Suggs is in the house. He talks about the 1981 1-double playoff series, which is in the early years of the playoffs. Good framework there. He talks about that. Kevin Crawford is in here giving us some updates. Karen Griffin is always in the house. Gilda Porter showing out and showing up. Roger Stewart in here. Lonnie Shaw is always in the house. Good morning. He's giving some business to Grambling there, shouting them out appropriately. Denise Simmons. Who else we got in here? Just wanted to give the proper shout outs for those lab listeners joining us all this morning without that. As again, stick tuned because we're going to have a lot of stuff coming at you. ONG in terms of what they bring for BCSN. I'm sure they'll do some closing up on the season. Obviously, you got Sports Wrap. They'll be debuting today. We have the pregame show. You know they're going to give you inside information like you've never seen before. They're going to cover the SWAC championship game. They have it at home, well-deserved. And so they're going to give you all types of insight. Hopefully I get some of that hospitality that Charles seems to be able to show me. Maybe he don't keep me to the curb. It's big time business for him now. With that being said, you have the 1876 Sports and Culture that Drew also mentioned about. We're trying to do some collaboration, so you may see those on each other's show. So look forward to that. Usually the 1876 is a podcast. We may spin that over at least for this special week to see if we can give you some streaming platform components of it. And so we'll be right here inside the HBCU Sports Lab. We'll be back to our regular schedule Tuesday and Thursday, and then Sunday we'll do some post game and break down the game and let you know what our thoughts as we start to look at the Celebration Bowl. But the rest of the week, we'll give you the SWAC championship game. It should be good coming up on this. With that, any final thought for you, Drew?
You said for me?
Yes.
All right, sorry. I couldn't quite hear you. Let's think about the SWAC championship game. SWAC championship game was basically created because we kept getting left out of the playoffs, the FCS playoffs. So
I beg the difference on that one. As a historian of the SWAC championship game, the SWAC championship game in 1999 was facilitated. Actually, it was an error. It's funny how life does this to you. The then commissioner, you had two teams coming in the division, and they decided to split the conference and play a championship game, and it was for financial reasons, had anything to do with the playoffs. At that time, the guy that came in didn't even really realize the records of the SWAC in terms of the playoffs. But the legal part on the paper was that you had to have 12 teams to split in the division and play in the playoffs. So he actually got fined by the NCAA because they were out of order when they sent two postseason. You're only supposed to have one postseason play. They sent a team that actually had two postseason games. So they got in trouble for it. Quietly, people don't realize the NCAA fined them and told them that they were out of line. But oddly enough, they fought hard enough from the presidents. They came back and they put new rules on the books that said that you could play what they called this postseason game as long as it was between teams in the same conference, which is ultimately what we have on the books today. It wasn't even on the books in that case. So that's why ultimately you saw the Heritage Bowl not take place after that, because SWAC couldn't play in the postseason a year after that when they got the NCAA rule on the books. So I did want to level set that because it's important to me that the historical frameworks of what takes place is accurate. But go ahead, proceed.
Thanks for that correction. But since 1999, the SWAC championship game has been seems to have been the be-all end-all for SWAC teams until this thing called the Celebration Bowl was created.
Mm-hmm.
in about 2014, 2015, when we first had the Celebration Bowl.
Right.
Now, because of circumstances and everything had to line up correctly, we have a team that not only do we have our two teams in the SWAC championship game, but we had a team that had an opportunity to get to the FCS playoffs, which had not been done since the advent of the SWAC championship game for a SWAC team.
Right.
My point out, and I'm gonna get to this real fast. For Jackson State fans, they seem to not care that FAMU went to the playoffs. They know what their prize is: SWAC championship, Celebration Bowl. Prairie View fans seem to not care that FAMU went to the playoffs. They're supporting FAMU in the playoffs. Even Bethune supporting FAMU into the playoffs. But some of the other people who aren't as educated are downgrading FAMU for taking advantage of a perfect storm that can only happen in the SWAC, and specifically can only happen in the SWAC East, where the championship was wrapped up so early in the East, they were able to get on the radar for the FCS playoffs. Let's support our fellow SWAC members is where I'm going. Yes, we can have the rivalry between us, but we don't need the hate. Let's keep it at a rivalry and not the hate.
I do appreciate you ending it on that in terms of the HBCU support. I do think we have to be careful of allowing Facebook to dictate what we see as the voice, because oftentimes, as we've seen in Facebook, you get an echo chamber. We've seen this in the presidential race and people wanted to ignore it, but you see it now coming down to other commonalities within our community and our specific space, which now is HBCU, even more so the Southwestern Athletic Conference. So I do think you make some extremely valuable points in regards to understanding to support each other. And I think there were a lot of support for for FAMU making it in the playoffs. Unfortunately, those people supported in the way you generally supposed to support. They were going to the game. They were watching on the channel. They were telling their friends of colleagues that are FAMU folks, hey, go. But then you have this small, ignorant, as you said, correct, segment that happen to be on Facebook and learn that you can stream on Facebook and not be responsible for what you stream. So I'm saying in a lot of ways, what we have to do is we really need to ignore that. That's the best way that you do with folks that are ignorant. You tune them out. You shut them down. You do not respond, because if you respond, you can't win, because that's not what they're trying to do, is have a real dialogue. For the most part, they're just trying to be fired. They're trying to lit a flame and sow discourse. So I wouldn't even frame that. I do want to make one thing clear is it was a scheduling glitch for Prairie View that made Prairie View not necessarily available for the playoffs. And as Coach Simmons said very early, which is important, is he actually learned from that opportunity at Prairie View back in 2015. Prairie View was interested in the same thing about postseason play for the same reason. One, obviously, if you get a chance to go play and extend your season and chase a championship, you go for that. But more so about making sure the team had opportunity for additional practices and award your team for a great regular season when it doesn't work out. The problem is they waited too late. And in this year, the schedule was in such a way with the Texas A&M game, which people have their own concerns about, which is a whole different conversation in regards to why that was set up. Maybe I'll share that a little more on Tuesday. But next year, what you'll find out is the schedule flips back to a regular schedule where Prairie View's season, along with Mississippi Valley, because they could be in the same position, even though they're in the in the West, is it will end before Thanksgiving weekend. So by definition, if Prairie View is not playing in a championship game, they will be eligible for the playoffs. So it's not so much Eastern Division or Western Division, it's the teams in the situation. And I think what you find out about this, because what I really wanted to get on the table is that the framing of what took place this year was from a leadership position. It was the leadership of the conference office from the commissioner that did what was necessarily through the back channels of what we find out in this country is about politics and how do you make things happen when you have relationships and the impetus to make sure that things are done in a fair and adjudicated manner. Also, kudos to the leadership of FAMU, which goes from Vice President Courtney Gaucher, the head football coach, Willie Simmons, that knew very early that he wanted to give his opportunity to his team if they played well enough, and they did it on the field. So kudos to those players that got it done throughout the rest of the season to put themselves in a position where they would be eligible for the playoffs. So I think it's more important to acknowledge the leadership of this Southwestern Athletic Conference in terms of what they're doing to make sure they change the entire direction of not just the SWAC, but HBCU programs overall, that we can financially benefit and change the dynamics of our institutions, both academically and athletically, such that we can be even a bigger force than we are now because we understand that framework. So I did want to put that on record and put that being said. Before I close, I do want to share the mic with Professor Bishop and let him get a chance to share his thoughts as well.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really excited for the SWAC Championship week. And more than anything, I'm excited for this Jackson State fan base. You know, Dr. Bill, we've been covering the SWAC Championship for a second. And I've told you for a while, I said, what, and especially when the Celebration Bowl came online, I've said often, boy, I would love for Jackson State to get an opportunity to get to this bowl game. And we finally have gotten to a week where Jackson State has put themselves in position to get to the Celebration Bowl. It's been a long time coming. It's been a lot of headaches, a lot of bumps in the road since 2013. This program went in a completely 180 direction, opposite direction from the last time they were in the SWAC championship. So I'm so excited for this Jackson State fan base for this upcoming Saturday, for the nation to continue to get to see this this excitement, this fervor for Jackson State football that's unlike any other, I think, in the country, because the Jackson community as a whole really gets in behind this team, especially when they're winning. So I'm looking forward to upwards of 40,000, maybe possibly 50,000 this upcoming weekend for Jackson State and Prairie View in the SWAC championship. So Jackson State fans, I know you're going to do your part. Looking forward to it. This is going to be a tremendous SWAC championship game.
Well said, and we'll leave it right there. Thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues. I am Dr. Jericho, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab, the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Watson, Charles Bishop. We hope you enjoyed our guest, Coach Antoine Sewell, the defensive coordinator of Bowie State University, as they continue with their run through the Division II playoffs. And we will be there to support them on that way, as you just seen by us giving him the interview on the platform to talk about his program. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Ville's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Watson and Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock Standard Time. And on Sunday at 9 o'clock, we'll be right here before you head to church. We look forward to next week as we discuss the latest news in the lab. Make sure you go to download my JBN, my BCSN, the app, so you can get all the platforms that you'll see everybody talking about the big games coming down this week as we start to transition into hardwood. Remind you, we have some great HBCU head-to-head Division I men's matchups today. Check those out. We'll sneak out and make sure we can tell you about those updates on Tuesday as we take a deeper dive in the SWAC championship game 2021. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavill, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's DrKenyattacavil. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Dream big and continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Drew?
Of course.
Bishop?
Lecture.
Dismiss.
We holler.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff.